Hi, I'm Beth, here with my friend Buffy the Buffalo, and we are going to bring you a reading wrap-up for September. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm Beth, this is Remark, and today we're going to do a reading wrap-up for September. So the first book I read was How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. This was a book that was really interesting and surprisingly heartwarming for me. It follows a young woman who has just gotten engaged to the boy of her dreams. She has her dream job set up. Everything is lining up for her, and then she gets in a horrible plane accident and becomes paralyzed from the waist down. So really it's a book about kind of adjusting your expectations to the reality as opposed to what you had thought and hoped would happen. In the beginning of the book, she's really optimistic, almost annoyingly so, and then as the book progresses, she has to deal with her depression and her disappointment with, the lower half of her body that won't cooperate. And so it was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The second book I read was The Ensemble by Asia Gabel. I did a video on this one, so I recommend that you check it out. It is about a string quartet as they mature into adulthood. It starts in their 20s and follows them all the way into their 40s. And so they deal with all the different things like the partnerships, relationships, breakups, makeups, kids, and then professional woes that they go through. And then, of course, the ever-present question of, don't you want to go solo? The next book up is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This book was also surprisingly delightful. It follows a young woman who has it all together. She's brilliant, she's successful, she's rich. She also happens to have autism. So it makes social dynamics kind of difficult for her, specifically dating. She doesn't know how to do those interactions. They're uncomfortable, they're awkward. And so the reasonable thing she decides to do is to hire a prostitute, a male prostitute. Now, the silly part of me immediately thought of Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo, and all of the different euphemisms that they used and the different slang words they used for the male prostitutes. Kind of funny. But aside from that, it was really heartwarming, in as much as a heartwarming story about a prostitute can be. The thing that I was really looking for was that they focused on the character herself and not necessarily just on her autism. I wanted the character to be her, not her condition. And Helen Huang handled that beautifully and also introduced elements of the Asian culture that was really nice to read. So, The Kiss Quotient, highly recommend it. The next book is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I also did a booktube video on this one, so I recommend that you go check it out. It's kind of a mashup between Quantum Leap, Groundhog Day, and The Great Gatsby. It follows these people in the 1930s at a fancy estate party, and this man named Aiden has to relive the same day over and over again in these different host bodies to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. There's a lot hinging on him figuring out this mystery. Is it life or death? I'm not going to tell. Just read the book and you'll find out. It's quite a delightful read. It's pretty long, but it's okay. It's still good. The next book is The Family Tabor by Charisse Wolas. This is one of those slice of life books. Those are usually a hit or miss for me. Sometimes I love them, sometimes I'm like, ugh. The Family Tabor follows, the Family Tabor. It follows the mother and father who are in their 70s, still in love, and they have these 3 grown children, a boy and 2 girls. Their children are coming to visit, and of course the children have all of their own baggage and life things that they're bringing with them. It's a book that kind of stands still and deals only within the family's drama, but it's a book that within that standing still, mountains are moved, lives are changed. And it makes you think about relationships in particular. If you get married under this one set of values and rules and mores, and then one of the partners decides, well into the marriage to change their mind and go a completely different direction in a way that completely goes against who you are. Well, by now you're already about 20 years in with this person. What do you do? I mean, do you cut ties and just decide to be done? Or do you change yourself and change the very fundamental core of your being to accommodate this other person who sprang this on you? I mean, it just brings up some really interesting questions. Good book. also read Our House by Louise Candlish. Now, this is one that I felt a little bit conflicted on. It started off promising enough. A woman comes home to find that her soon-to-be ex-husband has sold their house out from under her. And from there, it seems like it kind of devolves into almost a petty argument about a speeding ticket. The husband gets 1 or 2 speeding tickets. The wife is furious and afraid that he's endangering people with reckless driving. Maybe I'm personally a little bit defensive because I myself have gotten a couple of speeding tickets. Sorry. I think we're just mired for a little bit too long in the petty arguments about the ticket themselves that I was like, It seemed to go on forever, and then the book got really good. Then it developed into something where I was like, oh, I see where we're going, and it's not pretty. So, good at the start, good at the end, kind of so-so in the middle. I'll let you be the judge for yourself. I think it's still a worthwhile book. The next book I read was Ghosted by Rosie Walsh, and the title pretty much says it all. This woman and man meet, have a blissful, love-soaked week, fall instantly and irrevocably in love, and then they exchange contact information to keep in touch because the man has to go away on like a business trip, and then all of a sudden he ghosts her. She cannot figure out where he is, what he's doing, what's going on, and all of her attempts to track him down are in vain. The suspense kind of ratchets up. You wonder if the woman is in danger by not just leaving it alone, and then I personally felt, what is she doing chasing down this guy who obviously doesn't want her? You know, life is short. Why chase after this guy who doesn't want you and who completely ghosted you? Yes, it's heartbreaking, but still, lady, come on. But again, it's one of those books that in the middle I was kind of like, not so sure about this, but then it ended quite well. So, good book to check out. Alright, we're down to the last book, and it was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I did a booktube video on this one. Go check it out because the book is so good. It's so good, you guys. The premise of this one is that Emma has lived through trauma. 15 years ago, she went to summer camp and all 3 of her cabin mates disappeared without a trace. She's been wondering all this time where they went, suffering psychologically because of it, but decides against her better judgment to go back to the camp. Both the camp owners and she think that maybe this can provide some closure and a fresh start to move forward. Bad idea. Bad idea, Emma. But she goes. And of course, horror ensues, all sorts of drama, suspense. Bad things happen, and it's so fun to read about. Highly recommend it. So that's all the books I've got for you for September. I'm really looking forward to my October reading because it's going to be a spooky month full of horror books. If you're not into that genre, don't worry, I'm going to include some non-horror books as well, but be warned, it's going to be mostly spooky stuff. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you next time. Bye.